classes. Okay? So I am going to upload first my my presentation. By the way, I have already uploaded your presentation. Okay, I have already uploaded the presentation on your Schoology account. Okay, on week number 8, nandyan na ang PDF copy ng slides natin for today. Okay? I'm uploading muna. Mr. Villario. Okay, noted, Mr. Villario. You're present already. Okay, so we were going to jump first on the miscellaneous protozoan topic. If you notice, nandyan yan sa ating book, okay? Chapter number 7 yan. Supposed to be class that is on our week 8 na. Okay? On your course class, you're going to see the PowerPoint presentation or the presentation natin. Diyan, kung medyo mabagal yung transition class, you can check your week 8 sa course ninyo. Okay, you can follow there. Okay? So now, why do we have to discuss miscellaneous protozoa? From the word itself, class, they are miscellaneous. Okay? Somehow, they are a group of protozoans wherein, sorry, wala akong camera pala. Wherein, okay, before class, these individual parasites or these individual organisms belongs to the standard classifications of parasites. Nandoon sila before. Okay? Sabi nga natin ba sa examination last time, okay? When human beings evolve, technology evolve, same goes with the parasites. Okay? What we do or what we know as facts today probably won't be the same 10 years after now. Okay, so these parasites class, when I was a student, okay, before, as a medical technology student, these parasites belongs to the different classes of classifications ng parasites. They are not miscellaneous. But because of their unique characteristics that was discovered after, okay, they segregate those individual parasites and group them as miscellaneous protozoa. Okay? So let's discuss one of them, each and every one of them. Okay. So first, let's have our objective. Okay. So for our objectives class, we're going to discuss the geographic distribution of each of the protozoans being discussed. So this has something to do with the epidemiology. Okay. Saan ba sila in the world? Okay. Ano ba yung geographical locations nila? Are they close to each other? Or are they related to one another's co-infections? Okay? Given the list of parasites, select the organisms belonging to the class Ciliates, Sporozoa, Blastocystiae, and discuss any controversy surrounding the classifications and if it is applicable. Okay? So later on, we're going to discuss yung mga epidemic na cause ng different bacteria, different parasites na ito. Okay? We will also going to discuss the parasites by scientific names and their morphologic forms and stages. Determine the specimen or specimens of choice and alternative specimen types when appropriate, as well as appropriate laboratory diagnostic techniques for the recovery of each responsible parasite. And lastly, we will want to interpret laboratory data, determine specific follow-up tests to be done, and predict the results of those identified tests. By the way, we'll also going to discuss each pathogenesis and life cycle of individual parasites here in this chapter. Okay? So now, going back to our miscellaneous protozoans, no? By the name itself, class miscellaneous, they are not of the same classification as what I am. Okay. By the way, no, recording. Sige, I will try to record Sige, I will sige ko siya. Okay? So, by the way, no, so miscellaneous protozoans, from the name itself, they are individually, okay, different from each other. Okay? The only unique characteristics of all of them, class, they are unicellular in nature. All of them are unicellular. Aside from that, the morphologic forms, okay, the laboratory diagnosis, the life cycle, epidemiology, and clinical symptoms, even the treatment class are of different from each other. Okay, again, the only unique characteristics sa lahat sa kanila ay they are unicellular. By the way, no, if you notice on your course, merong nakalagay doon na problem 1 and problem 2. Okay? Throughout the duration of our class, throughout the duration ng ating conference, I am going to ask questions regarding the topic. Okay? And I am giving you 5 minutes, okay, to give your answers doon. For example, okay, this is the question for problem number 1. Go to your course and write your answers on the course or doon sa problem number 1. Okay? So, ano yan siya, pabilisan because you have only 5 minutes. Okay? That will serve as your quiz for today's lecture conference. Unfortunately, doon sa mga hindi makakapasok, okay, I am giving them separate quiz. Okay? Mas mahirap yun, of course, since hindi sila nakapasok sa ating sa ating conference. Okay? So noted, Ms. Chongson. Okay, so again, the only characteristic that ties them all is that they are unicellular. Okay? So what are the classifications of these miscellaneous protozoans? Okay? So they are divided into 4: ciliates, coccidia, blastocystia, and the pneumocystis. Okay, so first, the ciliates. From the name itself, it came from the hair-like extension known as cilia. Diba? So parasites that move by means of a hair-like extension or cytoplasmic extension known as cilia. Okay, it contains one human pathogen, okay, known as Balantidium coli. So nag-iisa lang siya na human pathogen under the classification of ciliates. Again, Balantidium coli. If you notice, the picture in our presentation is Balantidium coli. Okay, this is the specific here yung organelle sa loob. Okay, this is the appearance of Balantidium coli trophozoite in electron microscope. Okay, so second group class is our intestinal and tissue-dwelling parasites in nature. They are the subclass Coccidia. Okay, so this group of protozoal parasites in which a sexual replication occurs outside the host. Diba? Normally, our parasites class replicates or they perform replication inside the host. This particular coccidian parasites, okay, do the multiplication or the binary fission class outside the human host. Ibig sabihin, on the environment. Okay? That separates them from other coccidian classification. Okay? Next, we have the Blastocystis hominis. Initially class, they are classified as yeast. Okay? Fungi. Diba? And we all know that fungi are organisms, okay, other class of organism. But before, they classify Blastocystis hominis as fungi. Okay? Okay, that makes up the third group now classified as protozoan. Okay, so this organism is a sole member of the class Blastocystae. Okay, nag-iisa lang si Blastocystis hominis sa class Blastocystae. Before class, Blastocystis hominis was classified as a fungi, okay, because of the appearance. Parehong-pareho siya sa isang yeast form na nakikita natin sa mga specimens natin like urine. Okay? The only difference class is that Blastocystis hominis do not perform hyphae formation. Katulad ng fungi. Yung branching ng fungi, di ba? I know that you are not familiar pa sa mycology, no? Because after bacteriology class, yan yung next ninyo. Mycology and virology. So, parang excerpt na lang din ito of your topic. Hyphae class, pag sinabi mong fungi, they are branching. Okay, meron silang sanga-sanga. That is a unique characteristic ng isang fungi. And lastly, under miscellaneous protozoa, we have the Pneumocystis jirovecii, okay, formerly known as Pneumocystis carni. During the time when I was in college class, it was Pneumocystis carni. Okay, it was the only member of the fourth group, and it was probably a member of another classification. Okay, bakit kaya siya na-separate? Okay, it was a re-separated class because of the organisms traditionally included with the protozoan. Again, this particular Pneumocystis carni was a member of the protozoan classification. Okay, it was reclassified again as fungi. Okay, but we will going still to discuss Pneumocystis jirovecii class because it was still under debate pa rin. Okay, the zoonotic classification organization class is still under the debate if jirovecii or carni is considered as a parasite or ibabalik ba siya into fungi. So, kaya siya nabilong dito sa ating miscellaneous protozoans. Kasi, the declaration or the decision is not yet final. So again, we will going to discuss Pneumocystis jirovecii. From the name itself, Pneumocystis, okay, it lodges on our lungs. Pneumocystis, okay? So later on, we're going to discuss that one. Okay? Ano yung instruction? Okay, sa activity. Mr. Kolong, I am going to ask random questions later on. And pag sinabi kong go to your course, okay, and I am going to ask questions, I'm going to give you 5 minutes for that to give your answers on the problems.
Answers on the problem, no.
So it will serve as your quiz for today. Okay, so Balantidium coli class, from the name itself, Balantidium, it came from the word little bug. Okay, the Balantidium word, okay, originally or it defines or it means little bug because of the appearance of the trophozoite of Balantidium coli. It resembles a sac or yung sako in shape. At meron siyang mouth dito sa loob, it tapered on the anterior portion. Okay, para siyang bunganga. Di ba we all know that trophozoites class are vegetative stage or vegetative in morphology. Ibig sabihin, they are eating or kumakain sila. This particular tapered edge ng Balantidium coli class will serve as the mouth of the trophozoite. Okay? The shape of or the size of the trophozoite class is typically measures 28 to 152 micrometer, okay, in length, and average 35 to 50 micrometer. The width, on the other hand, approximately 40 micrometer, but ranges from 22 to 123. From the size itself, class Balantidium coli is considered as the largest protozoa known to humans. Again, Balantidium coli is considered as the largest protozoan known to human. Okay, so ano ba yung composition ng trophozoite? Okay, the ovoid to stock-shaped Balantidium coli trophozoite class contains two types of nuclei. Okay, we have the micronucleus and the macronucleus. From the name itself, micronucleus class is a small dot-like nucleus, almost invisible during wet preparation. Okay, sa laki ni Balantidium coli class, that micronucleus is even impossible to be seen on even stained specimen. Okay? Kailangan mo ng specialized type ng microscope like electron microscopy class to be able to view the micronucleus of Balantidium coli. Okay? On the other hand, the macronucleus is a bean-shaped nucleus that is very big and visible even in a wet preparation, normal wet preparation. Okay? So, in addition, the cytoplasm may also contain a food vacuoles and an ingested microbes. Okay? Normally, bacteria. So, the trophozoite is equipped with a small cytostome and a layer of cilia surrounds the organism, which serves as it means for locomotion. Dito sa pictures natin, class, parang lightly stained yung kanyang mga cilia. Hindi siya nakikita masyado. Pero around the cell wall of this Balantidium coli, mucosa. Okay? Next, we have the cyst form of Balantidium coli. Again, we have the cyst form of Balantidium coli. The cyst form of Balantidium coli class ranges from the size of 52 to 55 micrometer. The spherical to oval Balantidium coli cyst may measure 43 to 66 micrometer. Even the cyst class is big or malaki siya. Okay? And both trophozoite and cyst class, they both have micronucleus and macronucleus. And the same with the trophozoite form, almost impossible din makita ang micronucleus ng cyst form of Balantidium coli. Okay? One of the two contractile vacuole may be visible and then meron siyang double protective cyst wall. If you notice dito sa picture natin, di ba? Medyo makapal yung covering or yung cyst wall ng cyst of Balantidium coli. Okay? So one of the two contractile cyst wall. Okay? So ito yung young form. I think mayroon akong video ng microscopic appearance ng Balantidium coli. Ito. In a freshly prepared sample. Okay. So this is the microscopic appearance of Balantidium coli. Yes. It is prepared fresh sample. If you notice, the cilia of Balantidium coli. Diba? And the size, malaki siya. Okay? This is particularly high power objective ng Balantidium coli. Diba, class? If you notice, the cilia of the Balancinium coli that moves and helps it moves on our specimen. Okay. So, hindi siya hirap identify. Unlike other types of protozoans na you need to have expertise in microscopy to be able to view or to identify. When it comes to Balancinium coli class, malaki siya. Okay? And you wouldn't miss it on as fresh specimen. The fact that it moves around your wet preparation. This particular preparation class is just NSS. Again, this particular preparation is DFS using NSS. Diba? So, medyo mabilis or easy to identify si Balancinium coli. Okay? Medyo bagal ang transition, no? So, sige. Okay. For clinical diagnosis class or for the disease that being caused or laboratory diagnosis when it comes to Balancinium coli class, since it is an intestinal parasite, we often request for stool sample. A laboratory diagnosis is accomplished by examining stool specimen for the presence of trophozoite and cyst. Again, trophozoite and cyst are visible on the stool sample of patients na positive for Balancinium coli. Okay? And another specimen that is particularly sa mga severe cases of Balancinium coli infection, we oftenly request for sigmoidoscopy material. Okay? So it may also reveal Balancinium coli organism when collected from patients suffering from sigmoidorectal infection. Okay? Ito yung mga severe infection caused by Balancinium coli. Okay? Paano ba nangyayari ito, sir? So, particularly class, in the large intestine, doon nagla-lodge si Balancinium coli. So, it irritates and causes ulceration doon sa sigmoidorectal area ng large intestine. So, particularly, paano ba malalaman yan? Okay? So, with the help of colonoscopy, okay, di ba we have already discussed paano ba nagko-collect or nagpe-perform ng colonoscopy? Okay, sa rectum dinadaan yung apparatus na merong camera, and then with the help of that apparatus, you can also get a sample for sigmoidoscopy material, okay, for testing. Okay, so ano ba yung ginagawa during that procedure? Okay, so kukuha ka ng sample, and then you will go test for Balancinium coli exposure. Okay, so now let's have first the life cycle of Balancinium coli. For human infection of Balancinium coli, it is initiated by the ingestion of infective cyst. Again, what is the infective stage of Balancinium coli to human? Okay, it is the cyst form or the cyst stage of the parasite. Okay, following the ingestion of the cyst class, after the cyst is being ingested, it will going to undergo excistation. Ibig sabihin, it will become trophozoite in the small intestine. Okay? Under the small intestine class, mag-undergo siya ng excistation, magiging trophozoite siya. The resulting trophozoites takes up the residence and feed primarily in the cecal region ng ating intestine. And the terminal portion of the yun. Okay? Nandoon na siya banda sa large intestine. Basically, naging trophozoite siya sa small intestine and it harbors on our large intestine. At doon siya magkukos ng intestinal infection. Okay? Not just intestinal infection class, ulceration. Okay? So kaya nga, di ba, when it comes to severe infections, meron ng kasamang bacterial infections accompanying the Balancinium coli infection. Okay, so multiplication of each trophozoite occurs in a transverse binary fission. Okay, transverse, from which two young trophozoites emerges, and the Balancinium coli trophozoites are delicate and do not survive outside. Like other types of protozoans and amoebas class, no, the trophozoite form or the trophozoite stage is very delicate. Ibig sabihin, once it goes out of our body, it dies. Okay? But for those other types of parasites, they immediately turn into cyst. Okay? And undergo the process of encystation. Okay? Magiging cyst sila to be able to survive the outside harsh environment. Okay? So encystation, of course, in the lumen, and resulting cyst matures and ultimately become the infective stage for transmission for the new host. The cyst may survive for weeks in the outside environment. Take note, class. For example, okay, so ito yun, nilabas mo sa katawan. Okay? Di ba? Our Balantidium coli cyst was being ingested. Okay? And it undergoes excistation in the small intestine. From the small intestine, class, okay, it will go down to our large intestine and it will cause infection sa large intestine. Okay? After that, the trophozoite of Balantidium coli will undergo encystation in the lumen. Okay? Before siya lumabas sa ating stool. Okay? In the lumen, class, it will go to transform into cyst para makasurvive siya on the outside environment. Okay? And the cyst form of Balantidium coli, class, will be the one contaminating the food, the water that we eat. Okay? So probably, no, for example, kaya nga, di ba, minsan, class, our government, yung mga agricultural agencies natin, they are not recommending, they are not recommending the use of feces or stool as fertilizer. Yes, we all know that this is an organic fertilizer, but the fact that it can transmit infection, okay, it can cause parasitic infection, they are, hindi na nila promote yun. Okay, what if, di ba, ginamit mo siyang pataba sa lettuce, di ba, lettuce are eaten raw, di ba, at hindi mo siya nahugasan ng mabuti or hindi siya naluto. Okay, since it is raw, hindi siya niluluto, so nandoon pa yung infective stage ng parasite. So magiging part yan ng reinfection mo na naman ulit. Okay? So iniiwasan yan ng mga tao. Or hindi na siya pinapromote ngayon because of that incident. So katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, class, no? The Balantidium coli infection, what particularly happens in the large intestine, okay? Ito yun. Okay? Ito yung ulceration na sinasabi ko kanina. Okay? For the clinical symptoms, class, and treatment, iba-iba. Okay? Kasi, class, Balantidium coli infection, meron siyang carrier state. Pag sinabi kong carrier state, class, asymptomatic in a way, wala kang nafe-feel na infection or wala kang nafe-feel na signs and symptoms, pero you are already infected. Okay, pag sinabing carrier, you can release the infective stage of the parasite without having any signs and symptoms. Okay, so carrier state din, class, makaka-spread ka ng infection without being having the worst or severe symptoms. Okay, and another clinical manifestation is what we call balantidiasis. Balantidiasis, class, is the severe form of Balantidium coli infection. Symptomatic patients may experience a variety of discomfort. Katulad din nangyayari sa mga severe amoebiasis. Okay? They have mild colitis, diarrhea, to full-blown clinical balantidiasis. In this case, abscesses and ulcers may form in the mucosa and submucosa of the large intestine. Diba, as sa ating life cycle kanina, Balantidium coli performs excistation in the small intestine. Diba, nagiging trophozoite siya sa small intestine. And then, it will go down to our large intestine and there, it will going to cause infection. Doon na. Okay? Sa severe cases, class, it will cause ulceration and abscess. If you notice dito sa picture natin, this is a colonoscopy appearance or colonoscopy picture. Okay, it is a picture taken from a colonoscopy procedure ng ating large intestine. Ng patient na mayroong severe balantidiasis. If you notice, inflamed ang kaniyang large intestine at saka mayroong mga sugat-sugat. That is the ulceration. And take note, class, it happens in the large intestine. When we say intestine, class, meron tayong normal flora. Ibig sabihin, merong mga bacteria sa loob ng intestine. Diba? Once na magkaroon ng opening, okay, it will going to penetrate on those openings and cause bacterial infection. So if you notice, aside from parasitic infection, meron ka ng bacterial infection. And later on, it will cause sepsis. Okay? Because it will go to your circulation and you will eventually magkakaroon na ng co-infection, parasitic and bacterial infection. Okay? So Balantidium coli, alternating patients who suffer from chronic infection may develop a tender colon, anemia, cachexia, occasional diarrhea, alternating constipation. And Balantidium coli been known to invade areas other than the intestine. Ibig sabihin, this particular organism class can migrate extra-intestinally. Ibig sabihin, pwede siyang pumunta on the other areas aside from the intestine. Pwede siyang through our circulation. Pwede siyang pumunta sa lungs, pleura, mesenteric nodes, and urogenital tract. Yung ibang organisms class, they even lodges on our brain. Diba? That's how they perform or they infect other portion of our body. Okay? Okay? For the treatment of Balantidium coli class, there are two factors play an important role. Okay? The prognosis of the patient and the severity of the infection. So two types of medication or treatment. We have the oxytetracycline or terramycin by the brand name. That is an antibiotic, and a metronidazole or iodoquinol. Okay? These two types of medication class, the antibiotic and the iodoquinol and metronidazole or flagyl, diba same ito sa ginagamit din for amoebiasis. Okay? These two particular medication class is used for the treatment of severe cases of balantidiasis. Oxytetracycline for the bacterial infection because of the ulceration, and metronidazole and iodoquinol for the treatment of Balantidium coli. So dalawa na ang kailangan mong medication for the treatment of severe cases of balantidiasis. Okay? Wait lang. Okay, for prevention and control class, same with other amoebic parasitism, the prevention and control is just proper hygiene, proper sanitary conditions, and until the question surrounding the pig's role in transmitting Balantidium coli. Okay, during our time class, when I was in college, part of the life cycle of Balantidium coli, si baboy. Okay, the pig has a major role in the life cycle of Balantidium coli. Okay, but now the CDC excluded or eliminate the pig's role in the Balantidium coli life cycle. Bakit kaya? Okay, what is the reason? Take note. Okay, ito siya. Now, for the first question for our problem number 1, okay, go to your course, no? Nandun sa course ninyo to answer. I am giving you 5 minutes. Again, I am giving you 5 minutes to answer the question for our first problem sa ating conference. Okay? This particular problem will be ano ba tawag dyan? Serve as your first quiz for today's lecture conference. Again, this problem will serve as your first quiz for our lecture conference. I am giving you 5 minutes to answer. Okay? What do you think is the reason why CDC, or the Center of Disease Control, eliminates the pig's role in the life cycle of Balantidium coli? Again, what's the reason why CDC, or the Center of Disease Control, eliminates the role of the pigs, or the pig, in the life cycle of Balantidium coli? Because when I was in college class, okay, pig is part of the life cycle. Pero if you notice kanina sa life cycle niya, wala na pong baboy doon sa life cycle. Again, what is the reason behind why the pig is being eliminated or excluded from the life cycle of Lentigium coli? Okay, timer starts now. After this conference class, the link for problem number 1 will be unpublished. Again, after 5 minutes, the link for problem number 1 will be unpublished. So 225 in my clock, the problem number 1 will be unpublished. Shopee fan, okay, again, what is the reason why the pig's role in the life cycle of Balantidium coli is being eliminated? Again, why the CDC eliminates the role of pigs or hogs on the life cycle of Balantidium coli? At exactly 225, the link for the problem number 1 will be eliminated. You have 5 minutes. Again, Ms. Dallas, the question is, why did CDC eliminate or excluded the role of the pigs or hogs in the life cycle of Balantidium coli? Again, the question is, why did CDC eliminate the role of pigs or hogs in the life cycle of Balantidium coli? Okay? When I was in college, Balantidium coli's life cycle part yung pig. Okay? Bakit siya eliminated ngayon sa life cycle na ni-release ng CDC? Okay, you have 5 minutes. Okay? 2 minutes more. Tapos na? Malapit na, malapit na. Okay, times up. Okay? Okay. So, naka-answer bang iba? Naka-answer ba kayo? Okay. So, that's the reason why Balantidium coli. When I was in college class, yun ang palatandaan namin of the life cycle ng Balantidium coli. It always have the involvement of pigs and hogs. Okay? So, now, why does the CDC eliminates the role of pigs? Okay? Go back tayo sa previous slide natin, di ba? It is still on debate class, the handling and dealing with pigs, feces. Okay. Before class, pigs was the intermediate host of Balantidium coli. Ibig sabihin, from the cyst form of Balantidium coli, it will going to develop another. Yes, it will develop. Bakit Miss Leong, hindi ka ba hindi ka nakapasok sa Nakapasok ka ba? Okay. Before us, pigs are considered as intermediate host. Pag sinabing intermediate host class, the parasite will continue to develop its morphology on another host. Okay. So, pag sinabi mo kasing reservoir host, okay, no morphological advancement or hindi ka na siya mag-evolve. Okay? Pigs was considered before as intermediate host. Ibig sabihin, kailangan munang dumaan sa pig before siya maka-infect to humans. And studies shows class wherein a lot of Balantidium coli infection, okay, happens to human without the involvement of pigs. So now they are eliminating pigs on the life cycle. Okay? Pero under debate pa rin siya. Okay? Under debate pa rin siya if they are removing or kailangan ba lang ito tanggalin. Pero as of the CDC's life cycle, di ba we have a standard na lahat ng life cycle natin is dapat merong CDC logo. Ibig sabihin galing sa CDC because it will give you a standard na latest or updated yung data mo. Okay, from the CDC's guidelines class, pigs or hogs was eliminated from the life cycle ng Balantidium coli. Okay, so it is estimated that 60% to 91% of pigs harbors Balantidium coli. In addition, pigs also carries Balantidium suis. Okay, isa pa ito. Okay? So, sa akala kasi nila, Balantidium suis class is the same of Balantidium coli. Again, Balantidium suis and Balantidium coli class are parasite that belongs to the same category but morphologically the same. But Balantidium suis class do not exhibit or do not infect human. Again, Balantidium suis and Balantidium coli are of the same morphology, but Balantidium suis is do not infect human. Okay? Okay, noted Miss Montalban. Okay? Yan. So before we go to Isospora belli, I am going to present another video. Okay? This is a locally made video from the YouTube, no, about Balantidium coli. Okay? Pinoy ang gumawa nito, estudyante din. Hindi ko alam, baka medical technology student din ito siya. So, panoorin natin kung ano yung mga facts about Balantidium coli.
What's your first reaction when you hear the word parasite?
Oh, hell no!
Yes, that's exactly it. And so today, let's talk about a parasitic organism called Balantidium coli. Although humankind has been fighting for these parasites for 100 of years since its discovery on 1857, we cannot still get rid of them completely. So why are these little beasts so tenacious? More importantly, are there any ways to defeat them? Surprisingly, yes, there are. If you want to know more, then please keep on watching. Let's start with the basic, shall we? So what exactly is Balantidium coli? Balantidium coli is a parasitic species of ciliate alveolates that causes the disease balantidiasis. It belongs to the group of protozoans called ciliates because of the presence of hair-like organelles called cilia. This is known for being the largest protozoan parasite of humans, and it is for the trophozoid stage that it earns this distinction. Trophozoids can measure between 50 to 130 millimeters long by 20 to 70 millimeters wide. The two nuclei are clearly visible and the macronucleus is long and kidney-shaped, and micronucleus resides next to it. The cyst is the infective stage of its life cycle. Cysts are smaller than trophozoites and measures 40 to 60 millimeters across. These are round and have a tough, heavy cyst wall made of one or two macronucleus. During its cyst stage, macronucleus, cilia, and contractile vacuoles are mostly visible. Balantidium coli has two developmental stages, a trophozoid stage and a cyst stage. Cysts are the stage responsible for transmission of balantidiasis. The host most often acquires the cyst through ingestion of contaminated food or water. Following ingestion, excistation, where parasites escape from a cyst, occurs in the small intestine and the trophozoites colonize the large intestine. Trophozoites reside in the lumen of the large intestine and appendix of humans and animals, where they replicate by binary fission during which conjugation may occur. Trophozoites invade the wall of the colon and multiply, causing ulcerative pathology in the colon wall. Some return to the lumen and disintegrate. Mature cysts are passed with feces. Balantidium coli most commonly infects humans, other primates, and pigs, which are reservoirs of the parasite. The protozoa are found worldwide and incidences of infection have been noted in Bolivia, Papua New Guinea, and the Philippines, yet usually with a prevalence of less than 1%. Infection is rare, but is likely to occur in places where humans live closely with swine and where water sanitation is poor or non-existent. The infection of this Balantidium coli is most often asymptomatic but can invade in the large intestine, causing diarrhea, dysentery or the bloody diarrhea, colitis, and even abdominal pain. However, this can be treated effectively with antibiotics and can be prevented with proper hand washing practices, water treatment, separation of human and swine habitats, and proper waste disposal. When you successfully done that, congratulations, you finally got rid of those little parasites poisoning your life. Well, I truly hope that this information are useful to you, and if you know someone experiencing this kind of problem, share this to them and you might help them battle this parasite. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so nakita nyo na? That's a video of the information or facts about Balantidium coli. And nakita nyo na ba ang glimpse ng gagawin ninyo sa end of the midterm? Okay? Kung nung prelim, gumawa kayo ng TikTok video, ngayon, sa end of midterm, you are going to make creative videos about your chosen parasite. So, nakita nyo na ang example. Hindi ko na siguro kailangan magbigay ng sample, no? That's already an example of what you will be doing at the end of the midterm. Okay? So next parasite class, we have Isospora belli. Okay? So the oocyst of Isospora belli is oval, transparent in shape. The size is 25 to 35 micrometer long and 10 to 15 micrometer wide with an average of 30 by 12 micrometer. The developing morphologic form within the oocyst is known as sporoblast. Take note, class, the picture in our presentation is an oocyst, okay, of Isospora belli. The oocyst, class, it is the only it is the only infective stage ng Isospora belli. Okay? If you notice, meron siyang dalawang bilog sa loob. Those are the sporoblast. Again, the sporoblast. It contains a roundish immature sac that contains a small discrete nucleus and granular cytoplasm. Pero nagmamature din si oocyst. When it matures, class, the oocyst, the sporoblast inside it will become sporocyst. Okay? When it matures, the sporoblast inside will become sporocyst. And the sporocyst, class, contains 4 sausage-shaped sporozoids. Again, di ba nag-mature na si oocyst? Okay? The mature oocyst, class, hindi na sporoblast ang laman niya. It will become sporocyst. Okay? And the sporocyst, class, contains 4 sausage-shaped sporozoids inside. Okay, ito naman yung picture ng sporozoids. Parang siyang elongated na nucleus. No? So those are the sporozoids. Okay, this stage is known as the mature oocyst. Throughout the development of the sporoblast and sporocyst, okay, surrounded by a smooth, colorless, 2-layered cell wall. Again, our oocyst is surrounded by a 2-layered thick cell wall. Okay? Next. Okay? Yun lang ang morphology ng Isospora belli, oocyst lang. Pero it still matures inside. Okay? So the laboratory diagnosis of Isospora belli, class, is the appearance of oocyst in the feces or the stool sample. Freshly collected stool sample will give you the appearance of oocyst in your specimen. Also, you can also acquire duodenal content. Okay, yung sa duodenum. It will also give you the oocyst of Isospora belli. Okay, particularly. Intestinal biopsies can also be acquired, class, no, using again endoscopy and colonoscopy. Pwede din tayong gumamit ng ibang procedure katulad nung enterotest. Remember the enterotest? Yung capsule na ipapainom sa iyo pero may tali siya. Okay? After napasok na yung capsule na yon sa loob ng intestine, hihilain siya palabas. Okay? And that gives you duodenal material. Okay? So how can these parasites be identified? Okay, with the use of or acquired, no? With the use of another procedure that we have already performed, we have already discussed, no, itong flotation procedure. Okay, with the help of Schitter's sugar. So instead of NSS or yung zinc sulfate, they are using Schitter's sugar. Okay? A tentative diagnosis is being made following the preparation and examination using the auramine and rhodamine stain. Pero mas maganda daw if the stain being used is the modified acid-fast stain. I know that you are familiar with acid-fast stain, no? It is used to identify acid-fast bacilli, diba? The one that causes tuberculosis. Okay? This particular picture class, okay, in the side, okay, is Isosporabelli oocyst na stained using modified acid-fast stain. Again, this particular picture uses modified acid-fast stain, kaya siya color pink. Di ba yung ating acid-fast bacilli color pink yun? Okay, after staining. Okay. So next, we have to deal with the life cycle of Isosporabelli. Okay, so again, Isosporabelli life cycle is unique. Okay? So, meron siyang asexual and sexual na reproduction. Okay? It was initially thought to be typical coccidial parasite. Okay? Originally class, it belongs to the coccidial parasite classification. But because of its unique characteristic, okay, naging member siya ng miscellaneous protozoans. So pigs and cattle appear to be intermediate host for this organism. Okay? Ano ulit ang intermediate host? Okay? It is a host wherein it harbors the parasite and the parasite will continue to develop its another morphological stage. Okay? Kaya siya tinawag na intermediate host. Okay? As human class, we are usually the definitive host. Ibig sabihin, we are the final host for the parasite. And we give them the infective stage after. Okay? Tayo naglalabas ng infective stage on the environment. Okay? So humans serve as the definitive host in whom both sexual and asexual reproduction takes place. Okay? It presumed that the infection with Isosporabelli is initiated following the ingestion of infective mature oocyst. Okay? Pag sinabi nating infective mature oocyst, it is usually sporulated. Okay? So the oocyst in the contaminated food and water, okay, the sporozoites emerge after existation. Okay? So magkakaroon ng existation, magiging trophozoite siya. Okay? And on our small intestine. And on the small intestine class, it will going to perform asexual reproduction. Ano ba yung asexual reproduction na i-perform on our small intestine? It will produce merozoite in the process known as schizogony. Again, asexual reproduction for Isosporabelli is called schizogony. It will produce merozoites after. So take for example, or take a look at this life cycle. Okay, yung sa baba. Okay, that is the asexual reproduction of Isosporabelli. Okay, it happens when the oocyst sporozoites take lodge on our epithelium or the intestinal mucosa. On the intestinal mucosa class, it will going to develop into merozoite. And the merozoites class will become microgametocytes and macrogametocytes. Both of them are the components for the sexual reproduction of Isosporabelli. Okay, the microgametocytes is the female, and the macrogametocytes class is the male. Baliktad. The microgametocyte is the male, and the macrogametocyte is the female. The microgametocyte will fertilize the macrogametocyte. Kaya siya tinawag na sexual reproduction. Okay? During the sexual reproduction class, it will develop into oocyst. Again, the oocyst will be eliminated in our stool sample. Yun na ang yun na ang diagnostic stage ng Isospora belli, the oocyst in our feces or our stool sample. Okay? So, how to prevent this? Okay? Yun. Naiiwasan ito, class, naiiwasan ito from pagkain ng unraw or uncooked food, okay, na contaminated ng oocyst of Isospora belli. Take note, class, there is also an evidence suggesting that Isospora belli may also be transmitted through oral and oral anal sexual contact. Again, oral anal sexual contact. Okay? So hindi ko na i-elaborate, no, kung paano 'yan. Okay? So, 'di ba? Oocyst was found in our stool sample. Okay? And then it will eventually be ingested, kaya nga siya oral and anal sexual contact. Okay? Usually, it is performed by homosexual men. Okay? So, again, I'm not teaching sexual education, pero ganito talaga ang transmission ng Isospora belli. Okay? Okay, ulitin na, okay? Isospora belli, sige. Balikan doon natin muna ang life cycle. Okay, take example, class, di ba, human beings, okay, as definitive host, tayo yung nag-release ng oocyst, which is the diagnostic stage. Okay, this oocyst, class, is immature. Immature oocyst ito. Okay, after that, it will going to be mature. It will mature on the environment. Diba? Ano nga yung maturation ng oocyst? From sporulation, it will become, from sporoblast, it will become sporocyte. And that sporocyte will release sporozoites, diba? On the environment. And that mature oocyte, class with sporozoites is the infective stage of the parasite for humans. Okay. When we ingest this mature oocyst class with sporozoites, it will going to undergo existation. The existation class is from cyst. It will rupture to release the sporozoites, and that sporozoites class will undergo asexual reproduction. Okay, in the lumen or on our intestinal mucosa. Okay, this particular cell class is in the intestinal mucosa. It will undergo asexual reproduction. And that asexual reproduction class will give you merozoites. Okay? That asexual reproduction is called schizogony. Again, the asexual reproduction is called schizogony, and it will give you merozoites. That merozoites class will further develop into microgametocytes and macrogametocytes. Okay? The microgametocyte class is the male form of and the macrogametocyte is the female form. The microgametocyte will fertilize the macrogametocyte, kaya siya tinawag na sexual reproduction. Again, the microgametocyte will fertilize the macrogametocyte, and it will give you the oocyst in our stool sample. Yun na yung i-release mo sa environment and magiging diagnostic stage for Isospora belli. Okay? Nakuha ba? Naintindihan? Okay? Medyo hindi malinaw yung life cycle, no? Pero if you go to the different classification class, almost the same lang ang pagkakasunod-sunod ng life cycle of this protozoa. Okay? So next, we have the epidemiology of Isospora belli. Okay, generally, class, the epidemiology of Isospora belli is worldwide. Okay, cosmopolitan. Ibig sabihin, every country has Isospora belli infection. Okay, but unfortunately, it was walang record. Okay, because of the false identification or false negative results. It is usually unidentified. Okay. aside from it is usually unidentified from other organism, usually class hindi siya na-identify as parasite. If you notice, this particular histologic sample class is the appearance of Isosporabelli oocyst in our tissue sample. But if you notice, almost kapareho niya ng shape ang ating mga nucleus. Okay, so that's why it was hard to identify, lalong-lalo na if you are not proficient with microscopy when it comes to parasites. Okay, so an increase in reported cases began to occur during the following in the World War II. Okay, it was in Africa, Southeast Asia, Central America, and in additional countries. The South America class is in Chile. Okay. Also, there are particular incident of Isosporabelli when it comes to AIDS patient. Okay. Magkaiba po ang AIDS sa HIV patient class. Pag sinabi kong AIDS patient class, it is a full-blown HIV infection. Okay. Pag sinabi mong HIV infection class, yes, you are infected with the virus, but you do not exhibit signs and symptoms. Pero pag sinabing AIDS patient class, the signs and symptoms of the virus has already manifest. Kaya siya nagiging full-blown AIDS. So, Isosporabelli increase on particular incidence sa mga AIDS patient. Okay? Almost 30 to 60% of AIDS patient class merong Isosporabelli infection in countries like South America and Southeast Asia. Okay? So kaya siya tinatawag na rin ngayon, or we are already considering Isosporabelli as opportunistic infection. Ibig sabihin, on a normal human being class, healthy human being, Isosporabelli is self-limiting. Mamamatay siya on its own. Pero sa patients na mababa ang immune system, like AIDS patient, okay, magiging opportunistic infection siya and even life-threatening. Okay? Wait lang ha. Meron na bang appearance ng slide sa inyo? Okay? So our next, okay. So next is clinical symptoms. Okay. Katulad class ng ating previous yung Balactidium coli, Isosporabelli also exhibits asymptomatic infection. Okay? So a number of infected individuals remain asymptomatic. Ibig sabihin, carrier state lang sila. They carry the parasite but they do not exhibit any infection. Okay? Again, katulad ng sabi ko kanina, Isosporabelli is an infection, is a self-limiting infection. Ibig sabihin, if you are healthy, you are doing a habit of performing a healthy lifestyle, okay, and okay ang immune system, okay, the bacteria or the parasite will die on its own with the help of your immune system. Okay? But if you have an underlying illness like HIV or AIDS, no, or probably kahit autoimmune diseases class, wherein your immune system is lowered and cannot sustain on its own, okay? So probably Isosporabelli will become an opportunistic infection, okay? So again, asymptomatic. And another type of illness when it comes to Isosporabelli class is the full-blown or the severe case known as azosporiasis. Azosporiasis. Parang psoriasis, no? Azosporiasis. Again, parang siyang tongue twister. Azosporiasis. Okay? So this particular infection class, the patient may complain a number of symptoms ranging from mild gastrointestinal discomfort, severe dysentery. Okay, the more commonly noted clinical symptom is weight loss, chronic diarrhea, abdominal pain, and anorexia, weakness, and malaise. Okay, so in addition, eosinophilia may occur in asymptomatic and symptomatic patients. By the way, class, it is not only on Isospora belli. Familiar ba kayo sa types of WBCs or yung white blood cells? Okay? Pag sinabi kong neutrophil, okay, it is increased in patients na mayroong bacterial infection. Okay? Pag sinabi kong lymphocytes, usually class, lymphocytes is decreased in patients na mayroong viral infection. Okay? Same with monocytes. Viral din yan. Pero pag sinabi ko class na basophil, it is increased in patients na mayroong allergic reaction. Okay? And lastly, pag sinabi kong eosinophil class, it is increased in patients na mayroong parasitic infection. Again, regardless what type of parasite, lalong-lalo na class ng mga cestodes and nematodes, eosinophil is increased in parasitic infection. Pero, the same, allergic reaction is also increased allergic reaction will also increase your eosinophil, but not like of the parasitic infection. Okay? So because of the increased eosinophil in patients with Isospora belli infection class, you will going to manifest the crystal form of eosinophil in the stool sample, known as the Charcot-Leyden crystals. Ito yung class. Ito yung mga parang lapis or pointed material on your stool sample. Okay? Those are Charcot-Leyden crystals. So they are remnants or crystallized form of eosinophil in the blood. Again, Charcot-Leyden crystals is the only crystal that you can see on your stool exam. Okay? Pag tinanong yan, I think lumabas din sa board exam, no? The only crystal found in your stool sample. Okay? It is known as the Charcot-Leyden crystal. It is a crystallized form of the remnants ng ating eosinophil. Okay? Aside from that class, patients also develop malabsorption. So bakit kaya nagkakaroon ng malabsorption sa patients na merong sa patient na infected with Isospora belli? Remember class, okay, what do you mean by malabsorption? Normally class, when the food that we eat, okay, di ba, contains nutrients. Okay? Normally, the food we eat contains nutrients and water. Okay? We are reabsorbing that part of our nutrition. Ina-absorb ng katawan natin, lalong-lalo na doon sa lumen, okay, sa lumen ng ating intestine. Large or small intestine undergoes reabsorption of water and nutrition. Okay? Sa cases of Isospora belli infection class, di ba, it performs a sexual reproduction on the intestinal lumen. Again, it performs a sexual reproduction. Yung schizogony happens on the lumen of our small intestine. Okay? Because of that class, our small intestine, yung ating, the lumen of the small intestine class is irritated. Pag na-irritate yung class, okay, it will not going to absorb the water and the nutrition of from the food we eat. It will not going to absorb it. Kaya nagkakaroon ng malabsorption. Okay, malabsorption. Kaya nga, di ba, usually, the notion of people having parasitic infection is usually payat. Di ba, payat sila, at the same time, malalaki ang tiyan. Kasi nga, because of the parasitic infection, and hindi nila na-absorb yung proper nutrition from the food they eat. Okay, kaya nagkakaroon ng malabsorption. Specifically, in the case of Isospora belli infection, nai-irritate niya yung lumen because doon siya nag-undergo ng schizogony or ng asexual reproduction on the lumen of the small intestine. Okay, treatment and prevention and control for Isospora belli infection. Particularly, class, the treatment is sulfamethoxazole and pyrimethamine and sulfadenoxide. Okay, this interesting particular medication class or chemotherapy. Pag sinabing chemotherapy, hindi lang yan associated with cancer, no? Chemotherapy class is anything that you give to a patient for like medication or drugs for a particular for a particular illness. Okay, so in cases class of chemotherapy for patients na may AIDS or HIV and infected then at the same time of Isospora belli, usually class the dosage for the treatment of Isospora belli is lower. What do you think? Okay, for our problem number 2. Okay, again for problem number 2, take note. What do you think is the reason why chemotherapy is lower or lower ang dosage sa patients na or sa AIDS patients? Again, what is the reason why AIDS patients or HIV patients particularly lower ang dosage ng chemotherapy or yung drugs na binibigay sa kanila when it comes to Isospora belli infection? Okay? Again, you have 5 minutes. Okay? What do you think is the reason why chemotherapy drugs for Isospora belli infection is lower yung dosage na binibigay sa mga AIDS patient? You have 5 minutes and 3:05 is the deadline for your submission. Again, 3:05 is the deadline for your submission. And automatically, the problem number 2 will close after 3:05. Okay? The question is, no. Okay? I-type ko ang question dito. Nandito naman siya sa ating presentation class. Ito, chemotherapy is lowered for a longer period may be necessary for AIDS patient infected with Isospora belli. Again, ano yung reason kung bakit mababa ang dosage na binibigay sa mga AIDS patient na merong Isospora belli infection? Again, yung medication or yung chemotherapy for Isospora belli infection is mababa yung dosage na binibigay sa mga AIDS patient. Ano yung reason behind? Okay? What's the reason behind? Okay, you have 5 minutes. You have until 3:05 to answer. Go to your course at meron dyang problem number 2. Type your answers on the problem number 2 and it will going to end at exactly 3:05. Are already taking up another medication. Okay? They are taking up antiretroviral drugs for HIV. Okay? For Isospora belli, and it is prolonged period of time. Since they're already infected with Isospora belli, it will also become an opportunistic infection. Okay? Bakit mababa yung dosage? Because for a prolonged period of time, okay, ng Isospora belli infection and HIV infection also, it will develop an antagonistic effect. Okay? The particular medication for Isospora belli will develop antagonistic effect for the antiretroviral drug. Okay? So, kaya mababa yung dosage para hindi siya mag-cause ng antagonistic effect on the antiretroviral drugs ng patients na may AIDS for the HIV infection. Kaya binabaan yung dosage enough to kill enough to calm down yung Isospora belli parasite and to treat also yung kanilang HIV infection. Okay? So that's the reason why. Bakit? Mababa yung dosage and it is given for a prolonged period of time since they are already having an HIV infection. Okay? For the prevention and control, okay, personal hygiene and adequate sanitation. Yes. Miss Chongson, hindi mo na antagonistic effect. Pag sinabing antagonistic effect, Miss Chongson, one drug that is particular for a certain infection, okay, will be antagonistic of another drug na specific din for another infection. Since dalawa yung infection sa mga patient na yan, meron siyang HIV infection, meron siyang parasitic infection of Isospora belli. Okay? So, ano yung uunahin mong i-treat? The HIV or the Isospora belli? Okay? Kailangan mo silang painumin both, di ba? Kasi if you neglect the HIV infection and unahin sa Azospora-belli, it will going to lower their immune system because of the infection of HIV. Pag sinabi mo namang uunahin mo naman si si HIV, the Azospora-belli infection will become opportunistic. Okay? At sisirain niya ang immunity din ng patient. So, kailangan sabay. Okay? It is such that binabaan lang yung dosage for the treatment for Azospora-belli para hindi siya magiging antagonistic doon sa gamot for the HIV, which is the antiretroviral drug. Okay? Nakuha ba? Okay? For the prevention and control, again, like other particular parasite class, no, proper hygiene, okay, adequate sanitation practices, okay, avoidance of unprotected sex, particularly among homosexual men, since it is an anal oral infection. Okay. Okay, this is the end of our first PowerPoint, no? So I'm going to upload another presentation. Bear with me, medyo mabagal ang pag-upload. So we are going to discuss another type of parasite after Azospora-belli. In part because of striking morphological similarities for these types of parasites. Pero ngayon, since meron na namang na-discover na ibang classification or ibang characteristic for Azospora-belli or for Sarcocystis species, hiniwalay siya from the genus Azospora. Okay? So the oval transparent organism consists of two mature sporocysts that average from 10 to 18 micrometer in length. Each sporocyst is equipped with 4 sausage-shaped sporozoites. Kapareho ni Azospora-belli. Okay? And then, it is also layered with a double thick wall, colorless cell wall around the sporocyst. Okay, same with Azospora-belli. Lang. Okay, so for laboratory diagnosis class for Sarcocystis species, stool exam is always the choice for submission. Okay, for the diagnosis of Sarcocystis organism. The oocysts are usually passed in the feces fully developed. Again, the Sarcocystis organism is fully developed when it goes out on the feces of infected human. When the present, these mature oocysts are typically seen in wet preparation. Hindi siya mahirap hanapin. However, in many cases, oocysts have already matured. Kaya hindi mo na makikita yung oocyst. Ang makikita mo na lang is the sporocyst. Remember, the two oval shape sa loob ng oocyst, those are the sporocysts. And those sporocyst class contains yung sausage shape na sporozoites. Okay, usually, makikita mo si oocyst, but in other cases, nag-rupture na siya at ang makikita mo na lang is yung single sporocyst. Okay? Pwede mo pa rin makita in pairs yung sporocyst and pwede mo rin silang makita na nakahiwalay. Okay? Again, this particular sporocyst class can also perform extraintestinal migration. Okay? Again, this particular morphology ng ating Sarcocystis species, yung ating sporocyst, can perform extraintestinal migration. Pag sinabi kong extraintestinal migration, lalabas siya sa ating intestine and can infect other parts of the body, particularly on the muscles. Okay, kaya minsan, histological specimens, katulad ng muscle, katulad nito nasa picture natin, this is a histological specimen of positive for Sarcocystis species. Okay? It harbors on our muscles. Okay? Now, let's move on to the life cycle ng Sarcocystis species. Okay? So, katulad ng Isospora belli class, almost the same sila ng life cycle. They also perform asexually, and also they perform sexual reproduction. Okay? So ano ba yung diagnostic stage for Sarcocystis species? Okay. The diagnostic stage for Sarcocystis species class is the sporocysts. Again, sporocyst and a thin-walled oocyst. Diba? Sabi natin kanina, okay, you can visually see yung oocyst sa sweat preparation using the stool sample. Pero minsan, it ruptures. Okay, it ruptures. At ang makikita mo na lang, class, is the mature form ng sporocyst. Okay? So, minsan, and at yung sporocyst na yun, class, it will be ingested by yung lower forms ng mammals like pigs, cows, calf, even dogs and cats. Okay, they become the intermediate host. Okay, again, the intermediate host for Sarcocystis species class is our pigs and our livestock animals. Okay, mga livestock. So the sporocyst will rupture, releasing the sporozoites. At yung sporozoites na yun, class, is being released on the environment. Okay, it enters the endothelial cell walls and blood vessels and undergoes schizogony. Schizogony, class, is the sexual reproduction for this particular species. And the product of schizogony, class, is what you call schizones. Again, kanina, di ba, ang asexual product for Isospora belli is the merozoites. Remember, the product for the asexual reproduction ng Isospora belli is merozoites. Dito, class, sa Sarcocystis species, the product for the asexual reproduction for Sarcocystis species is schizones. Again, schizones. Ruptures releasing merozoites. This merozoites, class, penetrates on the muscle cells and develop into a cyst with bradyzoids. Okay? So, take note, no? Remember, sabi ko kanina, Sarcocystis was before part of the genus Isospora. Pero bakit siya nahiwalay? Okay? This is the particular reason why. Okay? Magkaiba sila ng life cycle. Okay? Isospora belli infection undergoes schizogony. Okay? And the only difference, class, it will not develop into cyst with bradyzoids. Di ba wala siyang bradyzoids form? Si Sarcocystis species particularly, it will going to develop into a cyst form known as bradyzoids, and it will lodge on the muscles or meat ng ating mga intermediate host. particularly yung mga livestock katulad ng pigs and cows. Okay? At the particular brachyzoids class, yun yung magiging infective stage to human. Kasi, di ba, yung meat ng livestock, ng pigs and hogs, or even calves, okay, yun yung kinakain natin. Di ba? So, pag nakain mo yung class, it will be the infective stage to human. Okay, take note, no? Di ba? Magkaiba na sila ng life cycle. Pero take note also that the asexual reproduction is the same. Okay? Same pa rin siya. Particularly in the brachyzoids, it will going to form microgametocytes and macrogametocytes pa rin, and fertilize the macrogametocytes and form another sporocyst ulit. Okay? The sexual reproduction is particularly the same. The only difference, class, as meron siyang intermediate host. Again, the only difference for the Sarcocystis species and the Isosporabelli life cycle class is Sarcocystis species meron siyang intermediate host. Katulad ng baboy at saka ng baka. Okay? The brachyzoids in the meat or the muscles of this livestock will become the infective stage ng ating infective stage to human, and the cycle goes on and on. Okay? Wait lang. So I'm going to play a video about Sarcocystis now. It is all about okay. While waiting for the particular presentation, yan muna natin ito.
Sarcocystis is a genus of Protozoa. Species in this genus are parasites, the majority infecting mammals, and some infecting reptiles and birds. The life cycle of a typical member of this genus involves two host species, a definitive host and an intermediate host. Often the definitive host is a predator, and the intermediate host is its prey. The parasite reproduces sexually and the gut of the definitive host is passed with the feces and ingested by the intermediate host. There it eventually enters muscle tissue. When the intermediate host is eaten by the definitive host, the cycle is completed. The definitive host usually does not show any symptoms of infection, but the intermediate host does. There are about 130 recognized species in this genus. Revision of the taxonomy of the genus is ongoing, and it is possible that all the currently recognized species may in fact be a much smaller number of species that can infect multiple hosts. The name Sarcocystis is derived from Greek, sarx equals flesh and kystis equals bladder. The organism was first recognized in a mouse by Miescher in 1843. His findings were not recognized as a protist initially, and the literature referred to the structures he described as Miescher's tubules. Incidentally, Miescher's son Johann Friedrich Miescher discovered DNA. Similar structures were found in pig muscle in 1865, but these remained unnamed until 1899 when the name Sarcocystis mischeriana was proposed to identify them. Initially, it was unclear whether these organisms were fungi or protozoa. This uncertainty was resolved in 1967 when electron microscopic studies showed that these organisms were protozoa related to
particular video class gives us a hint, no, kung saan galing yung name na Sarcocystis. Okay? From the word sarco, which means muscle, di ba, sarcomere, and cyst, which means kidney. Okay, particularly, they were found first on mouse or rats, no? Wherein they hypothetically diagnosed that it came from the meat of the mouse. Okay, ingesting mouse meat, uncooked mouse meat. Okay, pero hindi nila alam na probably it was an incidental host lang si mouse. Okay, but the name Sarcocystis remains. Okay? They retain the name Sarcocystis even though the name or the parasite do not suggest kung saan siya galing. Okay? Take for example itong ating picture sa gilid. Okay? It will literally class, di ba, Sarcocystis infection particularly, okay, lodges on our or extraintestinally lodges on our muscles, okay, and other wild animals. Okay, this particular picture class is a pus pyogranulomatous infection on the muscle of lower forms of animals. Okay, particularly, no, siguro cows or pigs. Okay, pus forming. Ibig sabihin, meron ng infection. Okay, that particular sarcocystis cyst, okay, that lodges on the muscle of that animal, the intermediate form or the intermediate host of the species, okay, develop a granulomatous infection. Pag sinabing granulomatous infection class, meron ng inflammation. It's a tumor-like infection na meron ng pus. Kaya siya pyogranulomatous infection. Ito yung itsura niya. Okay? Baka naman kasi makakita kayo niyan sa mga niluluto ninyo na karne. Okay? Take note. Sarcocystis may lodge on the meat, diba, bradyzoids, is the infective stage ng sarcocystis sa human. And this particular stage class happens to be on the muscles of livestock, katulad ng baboy, baka, manok. Okay? Baka kasi sa pagluto ninyo, makikita niyo ito. Okay? So, hindi uso sa parasite class ang raw or uncooked meat, no? Okay? So, probably, ngayon, gagawin na ninyo, iwasan ninyo yung mga medium rare na steak, di ba? Yes, of course, alam nating juicy yon, pero juicy din ang infection. Okay, when it comes to parasites. Okay? Next, we have a clinical manifestation. Okay? So, when you say sarcocystis infection class, there have been a few documented symptomatic cases of sarcocystis infection in compromised patients. Okay, these persons experience fever, severe diarrhea, weight loss, and abdominal pain. The same with other types of intestinal parasitism. Okay, and of course, okay, it also invades our striated muscle, katulad ng nangyayari sa ating mga livestock. Okay? Extraintestinal invasion ng ating muscles. Okay? Sorry. I have already, time's up. We are already 3:31. Okay? So, stop muna tayo dito. For those na hindi nakapasok sa ating conference, please tell them that I will going to make or I'll going to give them separate quiz for them, okay? Kung hindi sila nakapasok sa ating conference today because of connectivity issues, okay? So let's stop on sarcocystis muna, and for today that will be all, or unless you have other questions regarding our miscellaneous protozoans so far, okay? Meron bang tanong regarding or unclear doon sa ating discussions when it comes to intestinal protozoans? Do you have any more questions? Putulin muna natin siya, no? Because we're already in our time. Actually, lampas na tayo. We are already 3:32 na. Do you have another? Yes, sushi in particular class. Pero sushi naman class, remember, di ba sabi ko last time, merong mga Japanese or merong documentary about sushi eater ng mga Japanese, no, that they harbors that nakakuha sila ng adult form ng parasite doon sa tiyan ng mga sushi eater. Okay? Yes. Particularly, mga Japanese, di ba, ang mahilig dito. Sushi, hindi lang sushi class, meron pang iba. Even raw, even steak. di ba? There are countries, class, particularly in Mongolia, no, that they are eating beef, sheep, meat raw. Okay, hilaw. Kung kayo medium rare, okay, rare lang, pero nakainitan, sila class raw, may dugo pa. So, kumusta naman ang ating parasitic infection? Di ba? So, ganun. Okay? Depende kasi yan sa practices. Okay? So, kung wala nang tanong class, I will going to end this conference. Okay? Wala na tayong quiz. The two problems will serve as your quiz for this particular conference. And take note, I have already uploaded these particular presentations on week 8 on your course sa lecture. Again, remember on your, nakita niyo yung video about Balantidium coli. Okay? Maghanap-hanap na kayo ngayon or mag-compile na kayo ng different features or mag-isip-isip na kayo ng strategy. Diba? That particular Balantidium coli video, ganun ang gagawin ninyong creative video on the end of the midterm. Okay? Kung mamimili lang kayo sa parasite na discuss natin on midterm, at yun ang magiging term end project natin for this midterm. Okay? So mag-isip-isip na kayo ng strategy. Okay? So thank you everyone and see you tomorrow for our laboratory conference. Okay? So this would be all. And tapusin muna natin si miscellaneous before we go back to our flagellates. Okay? Thank you everyone and see you tomorrow for our